Hello and welcome. My name is Fausta, and I want to share just a little bit about me as we get started. I use she, her pronouns, and I live in a multi generational household with my life partner, Dennis, my adult daughter, and two amazing grandchildren. So, my story begins in 1995 when I got a master's degree in clinical psychology and became a therapist at a community mental health center. That's where I learned about trauma. In 1995 in Louisville, Kentucky, not many therapists were talking about trauma unless their client was a war veteran. We were just beginning to see the impact that trauma had on our clients. And so I got interested in it and began taking trainings to learn to work with people who had experienced childhood trauma, or what we now call complex PTSD. So I studied cognitive behavioral therapy. I trained in cognitive processing therapy, dialectical behavior therapy. I learned how to teach mindfulness. I went to countless workshops. I began to see beyond individual trauma to the impact of community violence, racism, and poverty. So when homicides went up in the neighborhood and someone in our community, people in our community, were getting shot and killed, we knew them. If we didn't know them, we knew their mother or their sister or the little boy that sat next to them in third grade. So the impact of trauma ripples through the neighborhoods, through the communities, and even through the mental health centers until it affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. But I didn't realize how much other people's trauma was affecting me until I almost had a panic attack at the park one day. That challenged me to learn about secondary trauma, to learn how to take care of myself so I could work with other people in their trauma and reduce my risk of burnout. I wanted to help the helpers, like my coworkers, to be able to hold space for their own feelings as well as for their clients. So I became a trauma sensitive consultant and coach in 2018. As a coach, I've been able to bring all of my education and experience to my work with emotional well-being and resilience. I am delighted to be involved in this training and really glad that you're here because I believe that ShareWell offers an opportunity to be part of a healing community experience. To do that, it's helpful to recognize when trauma or being triggered is affecting our participants or affecting us as the host, and to have some idea how to handle it. So what is a trigger? In mental health terms, a trigger refers to something that affects your emotional state, often by causing overwhelm or distress. A trigger affects your ability to remain present in the moment. It may bring up specific thought patterns or influence your behavior. For people who have experienced trauma, triggers can be mild or terrifying, brief or all-consuming, and can seemingly come out of nowhere. A trigger is not a pleasant experience for anyone. So how do you know if you'll be triggered? All humans get triggered. It has nothing to do with a person being too sensitive. In recent years, people have started including trigger warnings for content dealing with a range of topics. A trigger warning is just an acknowledgement that some of the content that will follow could be triggering to some people, depending on their experience. So what can I do to manage triggers in a session? Give trigger warnings. You don't need to call this a trigger warning. Just let your group know what's on the agenda. Share the outline of some of the topics for the day so that the group can have an idea of what's coming. You can more explicitly mention that these topics can be upsetting for some people and validate those feelings ahead of time so no one feels ashamed about their triggers. Give people permission to take space. Let everyone know up front that your first priority is your group participants' safety and mental health. Part of creating a safe space is to highlight to everyone that they have complete agency and that includes reevaluating their decision to stay in the conversation, depending on what's best for them. Saying something like, while we encourage you to stay, if at any time you feel like it's best for you to take a short breather, that's okay with me. If you feel like you need to step out, well, that's okay too. You are empowered to take care of yourself. That lets participants know it's okay to step out and that they won't offend you if they did. It's always advised to ask the participant, what do you need right now? Words are powerful. Check in about what language different marginalized groups are using to describe themselves and their experiences and follow their lead. A group of young LGBTQ participants may celebrate the word queer and embrace it for themselves. A group of baby boomer generation gay men, however, may remember that word as a slur and recall the violence they faced while hearing the word said. This is a perfect time to practice the golden rule. Treat others how they want to be treated. If you're unsure, just ask. We're all learning about each other's preferences, and it's much better to ask with positive intentions than to guess and maybe get it wrong. Know that you won't be able to avoid every trigger of your group. People have trauma around multiple complex issues, including things they may not even be aware of. The trigger for those experiences may be so seemingly unrelated to the event, we can't possibly know what they might be. Your participant may also be surprised to find themselves triggered, and that's okay. The human brain is complicated. Remember that we can always practice empathy. Even when it's difficult for you to completely relate or understand what someone else is feeling, you can acknowledge it's difficult to deal with complicated emotions and negative feelings and offer your empathy and support. Check in. Responses to triggers can take many forms. When activated by a trigger, some people shut down, some people get defensive, some people dissociate and start ranting on a tangent. If you think that someone in your group may be experiencing a trigger, check in on them, especially if they've suddenly started becoming somewhat disruptive and are affecting the group dynamics. Acknowledging problematic behavior can be helpful not only in keeping your facilitation on track, but also in acknowledging someone else's hurt feelings or emotions. When checking in on someone who discloses that they have been triggered and are experiencing the after effects, follow up with sincere empathy and offer them any resources you think might be relevant or helpful. If you don't know how to help them with their trigger, that's okay too. We're all living and learning. Be honest and acknowledge your limitations. And be sure to validate their feelings and offer your empathy for those negative experiences. For example, you can say, I'm sorry, I can tell you're really hurting. I'm not a licensed professional and I'm not sure how to best help you. Please let me know if there's anything I can do.
Of the times what I see is people like, when you're about to pray, they like start their eyes or making slight emotions with their face. That's when I can tell someone's starting to get activated.
Okay.
A lot of the time too, they'll like go off camera, but then they'll check back. They'll go off, they'll check back. They'll go off, they'll check. Like they do stuff like that. Okay. Another thing is I don't even know how to explain it. So I'm just like I feel emotionally connected to my participants. Yeah. So it's kind of like I start feeling tension come off them, right? Like their body starts to get tense and stuff like that. So when you start seeing stuff like that, it's like, okay, there's a problem there. We need to just take a moment and exercise grounding techniques and to check in with the participants, because there's obviously something that isn't fully okay there. All right. I'm just going to go over some group guidelines to keep everybody in the group safe today. So ask permission to give feedback. To avoid interruption of others speaking, raise your hand or use the chat if you have something to share. Don't be afraid to ask questions because no question is a stupid question. And if you need to leave, just give us a thumbs up and let us know in the chat that you're okay so that we know you're doing okay after you leave the group. Another rule I just want to put in place has to do with trigger warnings. So if you are, like during your story, you decide to get a little bit deeper into the story, just give us a trigger warning and, you know, ask permission of everybody if you can continue in that direction. Sound good? All right, awesome. So I think what we're going to do today is we're just going to go around, do a brief introduction, and just let us know what you've been struggling with recently. So I'll go first. My name is Shalanda, and recently one of my heavier struggles I've been going through is dealing with a breakup. So I've been struggling with that a lot recently. So what I'll do now is I'll just pass the mic on to the next participant, whoever wanted to go next. Just give us a brief introduction and let us know what you're struggling with.
Sure, I'll go next. I kind of feel you on the, my name is Angela. I kind of feel you, Shalana, on breakups being tough. I'm not actively going through a breakup at the moment, but I'm not like, I'm kind of thinking about it, but I'm not really. So I'm kind of in that in between. And it's not because anything's bad. It's because I think I've noticed a pattern where, you know, after a certain amount of time, instead of wanting to work on something, which is like my first instinct for like a portion, I start wanting to run away from things. And I'm starting to notice that it's, I guess it might be a bit of a pattern. So that's my struggle because I think the problem is actually me, not anything else, right? Like, and that's mainly what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, the flight response can sometimes be a pretty intense response that you have to go through a lot of the time. I'm also a runner, so I completely understand where you're coming from in that sense. Thank you so much for sharing, Angela. Who would like to go next?
I'll go. I'm not actually breaking up either, but at this point in my life, there are questions that come up about what can I really expect from a relationship, right? I mean, when we've been together. Yes.
Would it be all right if I interrupted you, and then we'll kind of return to you? I just noticed that
sure.
Amy is going off screen here, so I just kind of want to do a check-in with her. Is that all right?
Sure, I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, no need to apologize. How you doing, Amy?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I thought I'd be ready to be in this group and talk about my breakup. But it's just it's super fresh, and I'm just not. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Do you want to do a grounding exercise? Maybe we'll get you back down to the ground level and we can kind of relax for a little minute.
Yeah, sure. I'm so sorry for interrupting. I didn't.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
You do not need to be sorry about anything. These things happen. This is a safe space to feel those feelings, okay? Is everybody all right with doing some grounding? Yeah? Okay. Do you know any grounding techniques, Amy?
I've done like meditation in the past, but I'm open to whatever you want to do, Shalanda.
Okay, perfect. So what we're gonna do is It's called the box breathing technique. So when we breathe in and breathe out, we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds, okay? So if you want to just follow me, and we'll kind of do the breathe in, breathe out for a minute here. So we'll breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And everybody else can follow along as well if you'd like to do the grounding with us. So we'll do it again. Breathe in. Hold. Out. How are you starting to feel now, Amy? Do you feel yourself coming down a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. If you need, we can do a couple more breaths if that'll get you right down to the point that levels you out. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Or are you pretty comfortable?
I'm good. Thank you. I'll let you know as if things come up. But yeah, this session might just be a little tough for me. So thank you for understanding. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, definitely not a problem. And you know what? If it is kind of a tougher thing for you to talk about, if you felt more comfortable observing as opposed to talking, you can definitely be an observer until you feel comfortable, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No pressure. All right, Fausta. Is everybody okay if we continue with Fausta's introduction?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, perfect.
Gently bringing your attention back to the room. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I've just always kind of found meditations to be a little bit challenging for me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It really just depends on the guided part, like what it's about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, sometimes it can be challenging, but it does feel nice to have one, like go through those processes.
Okay. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, so I was gonna say that I guess I just really don't like meditation. And it was really uncomfortable for me. I wasn't able to see the positive parts. And I just lost a good friend of mine. And I just realized that I feel really empty right now. And so, yeah, just brought up a lot of those feelings of emptiness.
So it really made you aware of some strong negative feelings. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Did you realize, this might sound like a weird question. Can I ask you this?
Yeah, sure.
Don't feel like you have to answer. Did you realize before the meditation that this loss was really weighing on you this way? Or did this kind of surface it for you?
I think it's been weighing on me for the past 3 months. And I know that grief is a process, but there's certain things like this, experience, that I just, maybe I'm not ready for. I'm just not ready to sit with the grief yet.
Right.
I think I've been running away from it and keeping busy and avoiding stillness and just thinking about the sensations in my body, and it just it really it triggered something for me.
Right. Well, I appreciate you being able to share that. I wonder if you were in this situation again, right? Is there a way that you could have kind of shut down a little bit and not gone into the whole experience? Is that something that, now that you know how it affected you, is that something you might think about next time?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I also I could have opened my eyes and just looked at you, had a little bit of distraction, so I wasn't so internal. Next time I would open my eyes and either look at all of you or look at I have my cat in my lap right now, my little support animal. I looked at my kitty. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, because I always want you to take care of yourself, right? The question is always, what do I need? Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts about the meditation? Triggers happen. We want to manage triggers, not avoid them. Triggers are part of the healing process and can lead to greater self-awareness. Being triggered can result in a wide range of responses, from temporary unpleasant feelings to major damaging setbacks in one's healing journey. As facilitators, we create and maintain safe spaces. We need to be aware of potential triggers and empower group participants to respond proactively to protect themselves. We can do this by 1, giving a trigger warning where appropriate, 2, emphasizing that we suggest everyone stay, but they have permission to leave the conversation if that's what they really need, 3, checking in with anyone who seems activated or suddenly withdrawn, 4, providing validation and emotional support, and 5, offering resources where possible. Be clear about your discussion agenda so people know what to expect, and then follow it. Make it clear that attendees are invited to share what they wish and have the option to pass at any time. And don't forget to take care of yourself.